Welcome everyone to our second workshop of Spring Quarter, Market Segmentation and How to Identify Your Target Customer. In this presentation, we'll talk about what market segmentation is, why you should do it, how to segment your market correctly, and then using that data, how to create your target persona, and then we'll show you an example of market segmentation in the real world to finish it off.
All right, so to get started, we'll look at what really is segmenting. So mass marketing is when a company offers one product and doesn't try to differentiate who they're actually trying to give this product to. So some examples of this would be like Target. They're not trying to look for niche areas to sell their products to. They're trying to encompass everybody in the market and they're ignoring market segment differences. And they want their products to appeal to the whole market. And this is going to be different than segmenting, as we're going to look at. So most companies are going to market segment because it breaks up the market into target audiences that have specific preferences. It's very common. Google and Facebook and many other companies use it so they can tailor ads according to what people are really interested in. It's why you see some of the ads you see today when you go on like social media and such. It's companies trying to market segment, and they think that you are a potential person who might be interested in what they offer.
So now the question is, why market segment? Why not just sell to everyone and just have a mass marketing campaign that goes to everybody equally, no matter who they are? Well, market segmentation has some advantages. It allows you to specifically define your customer in certain ways. You get to see like what their buying habits are and what their unique needs and wants are. And using this information, you can tailor or change your existing products to their liking and to what they desire. And in that way, you appeal to the people who are most likely to buy your product more, whereas your product before might have appealed to them less, but might not necessarily appeal more to another group. So really, you're just making the product better for the people who are going to buy it anyway by tailoring it to them, which can help make your business more efficient, help increase profits or gain market share, and all those other good things. So a good example of this is Raley's versus Whole Foods. Raley's is a really general grocery store that targets all kinds of shoppers because everyone will pop into a Raley's for what they need no matter who they are, focuses on low prices and recognizable brands, but isn't really appealing to any certain segment of the market. Whole Foods, on the other hand, is quite different in that it is appealing to a slightly wealthier and more health-oriented group who might be willing to spend that extra bit of wealth they have compared to a Raley's shopper, for example, on all organic foods, because that is something they prioritize. So Whole Foods knows that there's no point in going for people who don't care about organic food whatsoever, because why would they ever spend more money if the premium they're getting from that money is something they don't care about? So Whole Foods would direct their marketing at a specific segment of the market.
All right, so now that we know what segmenting is and why we do it, now we'll move on to how we do it and how do we figure out who is likely to be interested in products. So what we have to do is identify variables. So this obviously takes a lot of focus groups and market research. Now, not to be confused with our case competition, where Chethan has informed us that we don't really need to do a lot of external research because Vegan Med has already kind of done a lot of this research and narrowed down who their target segment is and who they're really trying to approach with their products. But basically how you segment is you do data research to figure out what the characteristics of your desired consumers are. And then you adhere your products according to the target customer base. You basically figure out what is the best method to reach the consumer who's interested in my product. That is the question you're trying to answer. So here are the variables we're going to look at mostly. Number one, geographical. This is basically where does the consumer live and how does that affect how they're going to get my product and if they maybe want it or not. It kind of depends on where you live, urban versus suburban versus rural areas. If you live in a city or like maybe a less populated area, what region of the country. Obviously, different parts of the country or world view products and have different values when it comes to shopping and purchasing products. And then also companies are very interested in the demographics and statistics of the population who is interested in their products. What is their age? What is their gender? What is their income, occupation, etc.? This all plays a factor in if they'll be interested or not. And it gives companies an idea of, okay, what area and what type of person should we be targeting? So then there's two more variables that you can look at, a little bit more complex. First one is psychographic. What mental or emotional characteristics might make a consumer likely to buy our product? For example, vegan men. We know that a psychographic variable that pertains to a vegan customer would be someone with the emotional characteristic of sympathy for animals. So if they want to take medication that has not been treated on any animals, then that is a psychographic variable that that customer has. And then also behavioral. How does a customer act towards a product? How do they act in their daily life? For example, when back to the Rayleigh's versus Whole Foods, Rayleigh's is going to target a consumer who goes to the grocery store and says, I don't really care if it's organic or not as long as it's well priced. Whereas Whole Foods targets the people who say, I don't mind how much I pay as long as it's organic.
So once you've done this market research and market segmentation process and kind of figured out the general type of person you're going for, a really good strategy is to create a target persona or target customer that helps concretely visualize what kind of person you're targeting. So in this example, we're going to use Dollar Tree. So if you conduct market research on Dollar Tree to kind of figure out what customers you should be marketing to, you'll realize quickly that you want to find someone who is relatively frugal and or low income. Those can go together or be separate, be one or the other. They're likely to need to live close to this Dollar Tree because due to being low income or frugal, they're likely not going to want to spend a lot of, whether on gas or public transportation to get to the Dollar Tree. They're going to want to be able to access it easily and at a low cost. And they also are someone who's not going to want high-end brands or products, just is more worried about pricing and keeping it affordable. So with those characteristics in mind, you can create a concrete customer. So in this case, we have Cheap Charlie. He is a 19 to 24-year-old male who is single and lives in Davis with a low income. So he has many traits that are similar to what we said in the last slide. He is price sensitive. He's a college student, which can imply low income usually. And then in the behavior side, he mostly shops at bargain marts. Who he shops with, is whether it's alone or with people, isn't really important to him. It's mostly about just getting the things he needs. He often looks for deals or promotions and coupons and spends less than your average customer. He lives in East Davis, which is where the Dollar Tree in Davis is, so he's able to access it easily. And then he isn't really concerned with the brands of the products or the quality. He's always looking at price first and trying to minimize costs. So creating a concrete person can help when you have a marketing team and trying to put together marketing materials. This concrete visualization of the people you're trying to go for can help make that marketing creation process easier because you can see the kind of people you're trying to connect with.
All right, and finally, we're going to take a look at a real-world example of market segmentation and what does that look like. So obviously right now we're in quarantine and gyms are closed. So people who are active are having to either get outside or maybe buy what we see here, which is the Peloton, which is kind of like a new age at-home workout bike, priced around like $2,500. So kind of pricey. And we'll just run through the variables of market segmentation. So some a geographical variable for the Peloton is that the company is probably going to target someone who lives far from gyms or in a suburban area where access to gyms is probably just not as abundant as in a big city. And then we can move down to the demographic of that person. They're probably wealthy because the Peloton is not a very cheap, it's not a cheap piece of equipment. They're probably suburban living, perhaps a family. Parents would probably be using it though, age 40 to 60 to stay active. And then their gender would be male or female. And then if you go upwards, psychographic, perhaps they have an emotional value where they just don't enjoy working out in front of people or in a group setting. So the at-home workout experience is really appealing to them. And then finally, we can go down to behavioral. So the Peloton is probably going to appeal to someone if they don't have the psychographic feeling that they want to work out only alone, or maybe they have that, or maybe they just don't have a lot of time to get to the gym. Maybe they have kids. They have to get off work, take the kids to sports, pick them up from school, and then when they finally get home, it's like 9 p.m. and they're like, I don't want to go to the gym. I just want to get on my Peloton now. So it kind of adheres to people with a busy schedule because they want to exercise, but their schedule limits them from getting to the gym and staying active. But if you have a Peloton in your living room, then perfect. So this is kind of the type of person that the Peloton company is going to try and target.
All right, guys, thank you for listening to our workshop. We will have another one next week on marketing strategy, and the slides to this presentation will be linked in multiple places, so you can find the slides as well. If you have any extra questions or want us to elaborate or explain something, feel free to contact me or Chethan anytime, and we're happy to talk. So thank you, and see you next week.
Thanks, guys.